Clarke, thank you so much for talking to us. You're a psychotherapist, a hypnotherapist, and a Thrive consultant here in Hertfordshire.
That's right, yeah, thank you.
So we're going to have a look at a couple of videos from, I guess you could call them gurus, which have people who have a lot of followers. One is called Braco. We're going to look at this guy in a minute. He's known as the gazer because he just gazes at people, and it seems to give some sort of effect. And then
they say that they get something from him, so we're going to have a look at seeing how that might happen.
Indeed, and also we're going to look at a Hindu guru, I suppose you could call it, called Amma, who basically just hugs people. But they say that they get something from it, well-being, healing even. Yeah. And so I think the first thing we should do is have a look at Mr. Braco here. Yeah. And then afterwards we're going to hear exactly what you think of him as as a guru. Is he doing what he's saying he says he's doing, or is there something else going on here?
Yeah. Right, so just have
a look at that.
So you've seen Braco a few times, and how does it feel?
It feels like a big bubble of love.
And immediately I felt a warmth and a lightness.
Just a wonderful tingling sensation. And toward the end, a lot of heat.
I felt this intense heat throughout my body.
This heat came out and actually hit right in the neck, right where I had the problem.
That energy is more powerful than any of our pain or any of our problems or any of our situations.
Right, so Braco the gazer, Tania, what's your first impressions of this gentleman?
I had a look at his website a couple of weeks ago, knowing that this discussion was coming up, and my first impression of him is that he's clearly lots of people are finding lots of things that they can get from being in his presence. My question is, where is that coming from? Is that actually something to do with him, or is that something to do with the normal and the fabulous, amazing functioning of our own bodies and our own biology and our own psychology? And I noticed on his website when I had a look at it that he's not making any claims that he's doing anything special, which is brilliant, you know, because I don't think he is. I think what's happening is there's a whole host of, clearly there's an awful lot of visual setup that helps people to buy into this idea that they can get something from being in his presence.
There's expectation.
There's a huge amount of expectation built up. His website is full of lots of those clips of people saying, I felt this enormous heat coming from him and it went right to the area of my pain. Well, you know, actually, once people are told that that's going to happen, there's a process in psychology called confirmation bias, which means that anything that you start to, once that belief is in place, anything that you think, oh, there you go, that's something that fits that belief, that's it, it's happening, and you focus your brain on whatever it is that you've noticed, and your brain then is focused on the thing that you've noticed, so it enhances it. It's like if you add one drop of a colour to a cup of water, you'll get a very weak colour. If you add another drop of that colour to the same glass of water, that colour comes out a bit stronger. If you add another drop, that colour's a bit stronger. And it's exactly the same in your brain. So if you have one thought, oh, there it is, then that's just one thought among thousands that we have every second. If you have two thoughts, then that's two thoughts among thousands. If you actively focus on something, like, oh my goodness, I can feel a heat. Gracious me, I can feel a heat. Wherever you're focusing on that, I could sit and do it now. Wherever you're focusing on that heat, you'll start to be able to feel that heat, so long as you go along with it.
Because that woman who was giving the testimony, I suppose you'd say, she obviously went there because she had a problem there.
With her neck,
so she was thinking about that part of her neck for perhaps days.
That's it.
And obviously, I mean, if you think about your elbow for long enough, it'll start to itch or
do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll be noticing it because it's called hypervigilance. So because you're thinking about it all the time, you take the elbow, you're thinking about it all the time, thinking about it, and you'll start to notice any tiny little changes in it. And because you're thinking about it all the time, actually that change gets magnified and magnified and magnified until your brain is so full of whatever this tiny change is in your elbow that it feels like you've totally got something huge going on with your elbow, and all it was just one tiny thing that you've magnified with the power of the imagination. We have amazing brains that can do an awful lot of things if only we understand how to use them. And I think if anything, the problem that I have with this guy, I mean, you know, he's clearly lots of people are getting lots of benefit from him. Well, good for them and good for him. But if there's anything that's slightly worrying about it, is this guy isn't telling them how that's happening. So therefore he's sort of becoming a bit of a power figure to focus all of those thoughts and ideas and emotions. It's as if, as they're saying, he's healing them.
So certain members of that following will feel like have to keep going back to Braco.
That's right.
Rather than realizing they've got the power within themselves.
To do it themselves, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right. Just by focusing their mind on what they want rather than what they fear. So that lady with the problem with her neck, she'll have been thinking and worrying and being very, very concerned about the problem with her neck for a long, long time. Once she goes to him, actually she starts to change her perception and the number of thoughts and the focus of her thoughts in her head will change. So she will feel better, absolutely, she'll feel better.
But for how long?
But for how long? And that's the point. That's the point. If you know that you're doing this, then you can stop doing it. You can stop creating the pain. Not all pain is psychosomatic. Not all pain is enhanced psychologically. But all pain can be managed psychologically. Just think of what they do in, you know, the elite army people who do go through incredible pain and incredible hardships. And they train their mind to be able to deal with that. Well, we can use that ourselves. And it's exactly the same as what people use when they say they've got a low pain threshold or a high pain threshold. And if we've become hypervigilant to something, then actually we're tending to notice it and make more of it than we need to. Yeah, the sort of who dares win sort of people are using that power of the mind to help them in situations that are challenging. Unfortunately, the lady on here isn't going to be able to do that. She's going to need to go back to Braco to be able to get more healing. And on the occasion that doesn't happen, she ends up feeling even worse. Now, even Braco's not able to help me. This must be a dreadful, awful thing. And
so would you say this is externalizing?
Yeah, very much so. Which lots of people do. you know, people who don't understand psychology and about an internal locus of control and all of that sort of thing, they will look outside themselves for the answer. The problem is when it creates a problem in that person's life, and they don't know how to fix that problem without going to someone outside of themselves for healing. Now, there's certain sorts of healing, the doctors and all of that sort of thing, that can be really, really very good. But sometimes we rely too much even on them, and we don't see that if we just tweak something in our head, actually we can reduce the burden on the NHS ourselves by what we're doing in our head and how we're focusing in our head. If we've got that confirmation bias working for us, going towards where we want to go, then actually it makes our lives and the doctor's lives a much, much better and more successful experience to be living in.
Right, excellent. We're going to look at someone else now who's not too dissimilar from Braco. This is a woman who's called Amma, which I think means mother. Basically, she lives in the Hindu community in India, and like Braco, dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands of people go to her all the time to just get a lovely hug from her, which looks really nice, but they come away saying that they felt healed, well-being, and they keep lining up again and again to get hugs from this lady. And I think perhaps if we compare the two, there might be a lot of similarities.
Her name is Amma, which means mother. She's known as the hugging saint. First thing in the morning, these people have come from all over India to line up and wait for that hug, that embrace, the darshan, which is a communion of sorts.
Imagine hundreds and hundreds of followers waiting in line, and they know that they can wait for hours, and they'll probably wait until the night just to get the embrace.
I usually leave for darshan in the morning at 10, and then I continue darshan until there is no one remaining in the line. I listen to them, and at times I become them. Their pain becomes my pain. I laugh when they laugh. People cannot live without belief. Everything is belief.
As the day would progress, there were still hundreds and hundreds of people waiting to receive the darshan, the embrace.
My desire is to love others, to serve others, to wipe their tears. I get happiness from their happiness.
All right, Tania, we've just had a look at Amma, who, when I look at her, I don't get the same sort of creepiness I get from Braco. I think she seems to genuinely think she's doing something for the people. But then when you look at it again, it seems that what comes into play with Amma is very similar to what comes into play with Braco in terms of the expectations of the people.
That's right.
Wouldn't you say?
That's right. So I think with both of them, anyone who's got thousands of people lining up to see them has got a good marketing system. They've got a good advertising system, and all of those people that are coming there are coming there with an expectation. And one of the things in hypnotherapy is people will come with their expectations, and their expectations are enormously powerful. And if their expectations are, well, I'm going to go here and this lovely lady is going to heal me, then actually they'll look for all of the evidence that this lovely lady is healing them. And they'll go home and they'll talk about that. Oh, I felt so much better afterwards, and I was healed of this and I was healed of that. And of course there's then some group dynamics that come into it. We've got to go home and prove to people that our vigil going to see these people was worth it, because I'm guessing it takes a while out of your day. These people, some of them have spent the whole day waiting for her.
And that confirmation bias is going to spread
That's right.
more than the other side, which is the group of people where nothing happened for them.
That's right.
Because people want to hear the stories that are more supernatural.
That's right.
And they're more interesting, more fun to pass on. Did you
Yes.
hhear what happened?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if you say, yeah, well, I went and nothing happened, then yeah, but that's because you weren't going with the flow. You weren't getting in there. You weren't. What do they say? Getting the wavelength. You weren't on her wavelength, so you couldn't get it.
Well, you were giving a
blocking.
negative vibe.
There you go. You were giving a negative vibe, so you were blocking all
Not
of
too
that.
dissimilar from what we see with the Pentecostals and the healing services,
Yeah.
faith healing,
Yeah.
all that kind of thing. It's just different packaging. Really, isn't it?
That's right. So if you go and you let yourself go with the flow, then you'll get some benefit from it. But if you go with a doubting expression, then you won't, and that's your fault because you've gone with doubt in your mind rather than with hope and possibility. Well, you know what? Actually, the hope and possibility could have cured you anyway. You didn't need these people there. Having said that, how lovely, to go and get a hug from someone. If only we could do that with our neighbours. Rather than have to travel to a guru, a saint, the hugging saint. Actually, we can do that for each other. It's about acceptance. It's about being part of community. It's about feeling accepted in community. And that, again, is something that we do in our heads. If we're noticing, well, these people aren't talking to me and these people aren't able to help me and there's something different about me which separates me from all of my neighbours, then actually I'm going to feel separated from all of my neighbours. But here's a lady and a man who are both saying actually nothing other than I accept you for who you are. Well, that's sometimes all it takes for people to be able to let go of that negative mindset that they've got about themselves and enjoy their lives.
So in some ways we could say that these two, I'm sure there's many more of them.
I'm sure there is.
There is, has been, and will be.
Yeah.
They're on one level, they're it's kind of harmful, but on another level, they're showing the way, but perhaps going the wrong way about it.
If only they were explaining. I mean, especially Braco, his website is, in fact, Amma too. They're both saying that they're not particularly doing anything. If they were able to explain what they're enabling the people being hugged and the people being gazed upon to do for themselves, actually that would be incredibly helpful. The problem is that they're not explaining that psychology, so the people are thinking that the power rests in these gurus, these people that are put on pedestals.
Can it be boiled down to people who need, for want of a better word, attention? Because in terms of Braco looks at you, I'm being looked at. Amma hugs you, she's hugging me. I don't mean in terms of like attention seekers, but this person is focusing on me. I'm no longer just one in a crowd.
That sort of attention, as you say, is hugely important to people. But it's also, and without it, people can feel very isolated and low and lonely. So knowing that somebody sees me is very, very important.
Especially in a high population place like India.
That's right, where you can go completely unnoticed. It's like, you see the homeless person on the street. Actually just recognising them, just saying hello to them, helps them to know that they exist. So that can be an incredibly empowering thing for you to be able to do for somebody. But also, it's about acceptance. I see you on the street and I'm still recognising you. I see you in the community and I'm still accepting you. Just as you are. I'm not asking you to change. I'm not asking you to be someone else. I'm not asking you to go and get work. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm accepting you, I'm hugging you, I'm giving you my attention.
You're valuable in my eyes as much as
There
anyone
you go.
else.
That's it. You're valuable. That's it. And that's where the self-esteem boost comes. Someone is recognising, yeah, actually, I am okay. In whatever shape that needs to be for them. Because, of course, these people aren't, often, they're not saying anything. Often they're listening or just being a focus. So whatever's being done is being done in the individual's own head.
Similar to prayer, really, because you choose to pray to your God, and your God apparently listens, understands, and is constantly there for you, morning, noon, and night, and is always interested in you. That's very powerful.
Hugely powerful. And knowing that as you're focusing your thoughts on a problem or a solution, actually what happens is you start to make different connections between brain cells in your head. So you get answers from your own head, from your own ideas, from just being calm and not stressing about something. So
But it's learning to trust your own solutions,
That's
which
right.
people don't do. If it comes from this higher source or this intelligence or this authority figure, I'll trust that because they know what they're doing.
That's right.
I don't.
Yeah.
Which
But
is
your
understandable,
brain is an
but-
incredible authority figure.
Yeah.
Your brain is incredibly intelligent and
Yeah.
powerful. So being able to learn to trust that and understand how to use it effectively is hugely powerful. Now, don't get me wrong. Just sitting down and asking for enlightenment, you're actually asking yourself for enlightenment. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. But it's about trusting yourself as well as, the enlightenment that you give yourself. Rather than thinking, well, I'll do it because someone outside of me says so. Rather than thinking, I'm better because somebody stared at me or somebody gave me a hug. I'm better because actually I stopped stressing about something. I'm better because actually I let something go. I'm better because I changed my own body chemistry by thinking differently. I mean, let's talk about the mind-body connection. And the apologies to anyone who's a little embarrassed by this example, but it's the best example I can give. You see a teenage boy who's feeling a bit frisky, and his whole body will change. His muscles will change, his blood flow will change, his hormones will change, and his nerve endings will change. The only reason that I mention a boy is because it's easier to see. Exactly the same happens with women. If you're feeling a bit frisky, your whole body chemistry changes. All you're doing is sitting there thinking about it. That's the mind-body connection, and we can use that for our own benefit. So actually saying that these people are healing, what we're doing in our heads, what we're doing with our mind-body connection is fabulous. So why not let's use that. The placebo effect is another example. There's lots and lots of research about the placebo effect, even down to the fact that the colour of the tablets that you get will have different impacts on you. It's nothing to do with the tablets themselves. It's about what you're doing in your head and therefore allowing your body to do. Having a body that's constantly filled with anxiety hormones, the fight or flight hormones like adrenaline and noradrenaline and cortisol, isn't what our bodies are used to. It's not a healthy environment for us. So being able to let go of those thoughts that trigger that cortisol reaction is an incredibly healthy thing to do. If going to Amma or Braco is what helps people to do that, then fantastic. my only thing is, if they were enabled to know that they're doing it themselves and taught how to do it for themselves, actually that would be even better.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think also that there's going to be more and more of these gurus showing up in the world. It's not going to come to an end anytime soon. But we can always hope that people will learn to trust themselves and empower themselves eventually. But would you say that is happening in the world?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so many training courses and other people are out there. So much research into psychology now that it's available if only you look. So many different people able to help others understand, so that they're empowered rather than the gurus. I mean, there's been gurus throughout history, and some of the gurus we create in psychologists. You know, there are lots of people in the happiness community that are psychologists that become gurus. Actually, they're teaching. So long as they're teaching others how to do it for themselves, I've got no problem with them whatsoever. If they're taking that power and that control for themselves, then actually they're perpetuating, and you called it earlier an externality, they're perpetuating a sort of powerlessness, which might then lead to other problems in the future. And it's simple to resolve.
All right, Tania Clarke, thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure, Mark. Thank you.